Let's talk about this Biden case. Out of all places, Missouri, small town Missouri, filed an appeal against the Biden administration, and a federal judge basically banned the Biden administration from communicating to social media companies about stopping anything they deemed a liability. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Prep Life. Just getting back off the streets from Nashville, Tennessee. Big shout out to everybody in Nashville who came and saw me. Really amazing time. We did a book signing seminar. We did a pistol course in Royal Range and indoor range, which is proper when it's 100 degrees and like 110% humidity in Nashville, Tennessee. That was dealing with this big heat thing called summer. We also did a law enforcement only free course. I had 50 law enforcement officers sign up, and only 25 showed up. So thanks for that. That's sarcasm. I'm being very facetious because I want you guys to sign up, but I also want you to show up. In fact, I was pretty bummed out because I had to turn down several people who wanted to show, and they didn't get the opportunity to show because I turned them down because 50 people were holding those slots, and 25 ended up showing. I actually think it was less than 20. I think it was like 20 people showed up. And that's when we sold out at 50. I get it. Sometimes some things happen, but most of the time it's just people being lazy. That's why I charge people $25 to do preparedness seminars, because we started doing 200 people and 50 people would show up. Well, if you pay and you incentivize yourself a little bit more, then maybe you put down that remote control or that cell phone and get there. No harm, no foul, though. One of the focuses of that seminar for law enforcement was I did the Allen, Texas shooting, the one that took place at the Outlet Mall. We did a review of it and talked about several things, including preparedness, being ready for this worst-case scenario. Now, I did a reacts video on my YouTube channel. You guys, it's the last video. You guys can see that right now. But one of the things that I didn't harp on, which I did in this law enforcement class, was the understanding of what was taking place in his central nervous system as a police officer. Now, remember, he went from a parking lot where he was mentoring kids in a parasympathetic state of rest and digest, relaxed, like you are now listening to me. And then he had to activate, through his central nervous system, the mobilization tactic to survive, which is fight or flight, known as the sympathetic nervous response. So a lot of people that I've seen look at that video on police activity, a YouTube channel, they say, oh, this guy needs to be in better shape. Like, he did a good job, but he needs to be in better shape. And it's like, man, you have no idea how it works. And most tactical or technically proficient people don't, or they don't at least train this segment of stress introduced into their technical capability. This whole concept, this whole construct, this whole biology is your brain telling through your central nervous system, your body, we got to move. We got to move. And it's shutting down processes like cognition, like overthinking, and more focused on leaning towards priming muscles and sending oxygen. So when this guy was breathing hard, people were like, oh, he needs to get in better shape. It's like, no, this dude did a 50-yard sprint, a 50-yard jog at best. I mean, he was in between walking and jogging at best, and he was out of breath. That's because likely he was, one, holding his breath. That's what you do under stress, because you're suppressing your breath, saving that oxygen for the things that matter, in fight or flight at least. Two, as he was running across, he was getting stressed out. The cortisol, the norepinephrine, all these stress hormones were having an effect. And three, again, it's the mobilization tactic. It needs you to be primed for movement and for those muscles to be contracting. And when you're trying to slow yourself down to make the shot, to make that shot that's going to count to save countless lives under stress while you're bypassing innocent people who have been killed, which happened with him, you get that. So how do we train for that? Well, we put ourselves under stress. I mean, Greg Lappin, a professor that we're hiring in Jiu Jitsu, who's running Fieldcraft Jiu Jitsu in Provo, Utah, his focus will be training men, women, and children to be resilient, but also to be conditioned under stress. You lose your mind. You get out of control in Jiu Jitsu, you'll just get choked out faster. You have to calm yourself down. You have to learn and adapt. And part of that process takes place on Jiu Jitsu mats and dojos, not in real life scenarios and active shootings. Also, physical fitness, health and wellness, all those things matter. Go do a workout of the day. Go work out and make your mind tell your body, hey man, this ain't working out for me. And then your body tell your mind, hey, we might die. And then push through that pain, because that's what's taking place. It's like, hey, you don't want to do this workout. This is something dangerous. Sends all the spidey signals, except they're false signals. They're false flags. And so when you calm down, you breathe, you get through it, you build resilience, and you also condition yourself for stress. Every opportunity you get in life, do that. I mean, we didn't have water at the house for like a day, and showering with cold water out in the garage, yeah, it sucks, but that builds resilience in you. That's why hot sauna and, the sweat tent, you can get a discount code on that, by the way. I got one for you. Use Glover at sweattents.com, and you guys can save 10-20% on your next sweat tent. But cold sauna or cold plunge and hot sauna are popular now because it's a good way to build resilience inside your system when we have it so good. And damn, do we have it so good. Let's move on. Let's talk about this Scott Peterson guy. This is the Parkland shooting that took place in Parkland, Florida. It actually happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. This is where 17 people were killed, including 14 students. And this is where they charged the officer for not going into the school. Now, if you notice, in Uvalde, they haven't charged anybody. I mean, you had a trove of police officers who stood in a hallway and never went down the hall to kick in the door to save those innocent babies that were getting massacred. They didn't do anything. This officer showed up. Several people were already killed. He gets on another floor. In fact, he was charged with 7 counts of felony child neglect and 3 counts of culpable negligence and also perjury because he lied. That's because on the first floor, the victims of that first floor had not yet arrived on scene, and no one at the time was killed on the second floor. He showed up and he said he didn't know where the shots were coming from, so he froze up. And that's not his words, that's mine. He froze up. Scott Peterson, the sheriff, got off acquitted on all counts and all charges. Now, what people should know is law enforcement officers, based on both case precedent and prime examples within recent history, don't have a legal responsibility to protect you and to come to your rescue. Even though they swear an oath to serve and protect, legally they can't be held liable. So what does that mean for you or for your children? Well, it means, number one, you are your own first response because no one's coming to save you. You need to take care of yourself. Well, Mike, what do you do when you outsource all your education, your security, your health care to somebody else? Well, you have to find means to take care and handle that business, or you're going to be victim of outsourcing everything that you hold close and dear, like your children. I mean, I don't want my children educated by anybody. I want the person who's educating my children for me to know exactly who they are. I want to know their values. I want to know where they come from. I want to know their background. You realize, like, most of you send your kids to school and you don't even know who the hell is teaching your kids? Like, what kind of institution do you do that with? I mean, that would be like you're saying, I'm going to leave my child with strange adults that I don't know who they are, don't understand their background, don't know their value system, and every single hour they're going to rotate into a strange adult that I don't know. Now, some of you and some schools have these relationships built. And if I went to a school, a public school, and I said, hey, I want to build this relationship, I want to know who my teachers are, I want to shake their hand, I want to know their background, I want to know everything about them because they're interacting with my child from ages 5 to 18 every single day, and they were like, well, we don't do that. Well, then you don't educate my kid. And so that's my biggest problem with public institutions is their entire purpose is this idea of efficiency, except what happens when the wrong people get in places? I don't know, like the government? Well, you have a breakdown. And then you have people doing stupid stuff. I'm not willing to take the chance, and neither should you. I had a gentleman come and talk to me at a personal security class in Montana who said, hey, man, you told me, you said, get off the bench and do something about it. So I did that. I was a parent. My child went to this class in this school. I didn't know who these teachers were, so I got more involved. I decided their security wasn't squared away, so I became the security for my child's campus. That's the way you get it done. Let's do more of that. Let's talk about this Biden case. Out of all places, Missouri, small town Missouri, filed an appeal against the Biden administration, and a federal judge basically banned the Biden administration from communicating to social media companies about stopping anything they deemed a liability, bad, false information. I want you to take a step back and just think about that for a second. We just now are getting a federal judge to say, hey, Biden administration, you're not allowed to talk to social media platforms and have people suppressed and canceled because you don't like what they're saying. And you're like, well, is that a violation of the law? It is not only a violation of the law, it's a violation of the supreme law, the U.S. Constitution. It's called the First Amendment. And we right now, up until this point, for years, accepted that it was okay for politicians, including administrations under Biden, to say, hey, you could reach out to any social media platform you want, and you could talk to them and say, hey, it's not okay that these people are putting out false information about my candidate, about the president, about COVID-19, and they will shut you down. It's exactly what they did to us with American Contingency when the government contacted Facebook, and Zuckerberg admitted to this on Joe Rogan's podcast, and said through the FBI, hey, we have a problem. We have a couple organizations we want you to cancel because they potentially could be a threat. And one of them was American Contingency. And we were deemed a pass-through or entity or organization that supports militant, violent extremists, and they shut us down. We got deleted and banned. If you tagged us, you got banned too. No recourse. And so we had to shop alternate means. We came up on locals, then we migrated to a server. We did all the things. Now we realize, like, holy crap, my business was attacked. My persona and all the things that I was doing online were attacked. Every social media account that was linked to my company was attacked. My merchant service account was attacked. My Shopify was deleted. Now we know where that came from. Except I didn't have the bandwidth nor the money to go after the federal government. Thank God somebody in Missouri did through a lawsuit and litigation, and they got him turned down. Here is the damning part. Through discovery, which is basically allowing them to dig in the weeds a little bit, they discovered that there was not just communication, but thousands of communications that went back and forth between the Biden administration and social media platforms to deplatform people, companies, and institutions because they didn't believe what they were saying aligned with their values. That is a direct infringement against the First Amendment of the Constitution and is against the law. But again, are you hearing about it? Is any national media, by the way, covering that? The answer is no. I already checked and looked into it. Zero is covering it. A couple local agencies are covering it, but nobody in the national media, that is the Democratic propaganda arm for the Biden administration, nobody is reporting on it. And that's a damn shame. Also, let's talk about Ben Darby. I have that on my list. Ben Darby is a police officer that was charged in Huntsville, Alabama, police officer. Now, Ben Darby and his wife, Colleen Darby, are friends of mine. I'll put that out first and foremost. But we were friends before he went to prison. He got charged for murder, for killing a suspect who had a gun in his hand, who was threatening police officers, and winded up shooting and killing this guy lawfully based on his rules of engagement and everything he was taught in the police academy. I mean, any reasonable person would determine that this was appropriate amount of force, deadly force in this case, via his standard operating procedures and the things that he was taught. It's what we teach directly in personal security and self-defense as a protocol. He kills this guy. He gets charged for murder, gets convicted, and thrown in prison. 20 months later, they determine he was wrongfully charged, and they throw out his conviction. They throw it out. He gets out of jail, gets out of prison, goes home, and the DA, the district attorney, who's the same person who charged him originally, even after the state threw it out, is recharging the case. I don't know how this doesn't align with double jeopardy. There's probably some gap fill. This isn't how it works. But they're literally recharging him again for murder, and he'll have a trial in December. I hope the Huntsville, Alabama, the state of Alabama gets their shit together and they throw this conviction out. This is ridiculous. We're still dealing with this. While crime across Alabama is through the roof, we're focused on police officers doing their jobs. Right after this, 5 officers were acquitted and got off and said, hey, justifying they used self-defense and deadly force in the same circumstance. Yet here we are talking about Ben Darby again. It makes me sick to my stomach. But again, it's the politics when you get the wrong people and political power, they take advantage of that and they start doing dumb stuff like defunding the police. Like, are you out of your mind? Lastly, let's talk about the application. It's going to be up soon, guys. I've been waiting for this for like years. People have asked me, Mike, when's the app? When's the app? I'm like, man, if you ever started an app, it is one of the most difficult things you could do in business. For a year, just so you know, we are trying to onboard an LMS. Amber was working with an LMS, a learning management company. It's the user interface you see behind colleges and institutions of education, trying to build that up. And it didn't work. And we wasted $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, a lot of time and effort, and had to pull back and essentially said, man, this is not working for us. What else can we do? You could build it from scratch. And that's what we did. The team worked really hard from Casey Hildreth with tactics, family preparedness with Amber, Kevin Estella and all the things primitive survival, Michael Hernandez, all the things mobility, Doc Jones, all the things med. We worked really hard to get this done, and it's about to launch. We just tested it recently. By the time you hear this, next week, we'll be looking to soft and hard launch the application that you can get on Roku, Samsung, Apple TV, Android, all the places, and you could tether to your big screen on your TV, which I'm very proud of. Appreciate you guys supporting Fieldcraft Survival and all the things that we're doing. The new VS17, I call it VS17, Emergency Orange, which is this color right here. The new Emergency Orange loadout bags are available on fieldcraftsurvival.com. You can also link to get set up for the app on fieldcraftsurvival.com. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a good week. I'm off to the underground right now on Patreon. Till next time, peace out, guys.